Now, when making adjustments on the image, there's two different areas within Photoshop to allow you to do that, and the one that I use more than any other, and probably need to rethink how I do this, but this is how I've done it for a long, long time, and I'm just a very stubborn person resistant to change. Be that as it may, you click on Image, come down to Adjustments, and then from here I pick my various adjustment tools and make the adjustments from that point forward. Let's just call black and white, and then take a look at the layers palette and look and see that I'm making direct changes to the image itself, which means I'm changing the pixels. When you change the pixels, it's a permanent change and you can't undo it unless, of course, you go back in time on your history states. However, if you want to add a little bit of flexibility to that process, if you want to maintain your ability to go back and make a change in an adjustment without actually undoing several other history states, the best way to do that is with what's known as adjustment layers. We'll click on that and we'll see the flyout menu that comes up, and it shows that we have a control for brightness and contrast, levels, the curves dialog box, exposure, vibrance, etc., etc. There's a number of different adjustment tools that we can bring to bear as independent layers. Let's go ahead and click on this color balance tool, and we see immediately that a new layer was established, and that makes it a lot more flexible to do the adjustment. In addition, we can come back later, reopen the image, and continue to make color adjustments. When you do that directly, as in with this drop-down list, those changes are permanent, and you have to reload the image and start from the very beginning in order to duplicate what it is you wanted to accomplish. So obviously, as we look at this image, it has a bad white balance, and we're going to change this manually, and so we'll go to the color balance area, and obviously the blues are very, very heavy, and we need to make that adjustment. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take the info palette and we're going to move it from here up next to the histogram, just like that. Then we're going to come get our eyedropper tool, and we're going to specifically choose the color sampler tool, and we're going to put our sample area right there. Now the reason for that is because I know that this background is a neutral gray background at about 115 RGB. So as I make my adjustments, I'm going to see a display of the RGB balance right here that will give me a mathematical view of the color adjustment. So let's go ahead and begin, and we're starting in midtones, and since we know there's way too much blue in here, let's just bring these blue levels down, and we can see the levels, the actual numerical values change right here. Let's continue to come down to make this a neutral gray. And now those are coming into balance a lot better. And we look at this second set of numbers, not the first, but the second set of numbers. These are the corrected numbers. And we have to bring this green down a little bit because the green number is up around 94. We still have a little bit ways to go on the blue. But let's bring that green down. And that was just a little too much. We're going to come back up to about right there. And let's add just a little bit of blue. And there we have it, 94, 94, 94, and our sample is this neutral gray background. But in looking at the image, we have a very common problem with blonde portrait subjects in that there is a tendency to have a little bit of green introduced into the blonde hair, and that's what we have here, just a tiny little amount of green showing there, which is not a natural look. So rather than mess with these sliders, I'm going to make a very exacting kind of adjustment. This is originally at -6. I'm going to go with -7. Now I'm going to go with -8, -9, and that's getting better. I want these very, very gradual changes. -10, -11, and I think I'm going to let it just stand just like that. I'm less concerned about what the background looks like, and I am very concerned about that green tint that shows up in her blonde hair. Let's go one more just for good measure, and I think that's probably where we're going to keep it. So there we have a properly adjusted white balance, all based on numerical displays on the Info tab and the properties of the Color Balance adjustment panel. And these are all contained here in this adjustment layer. Let's take a look at some of the other options that we have for adjustment layers. And as I mentioned, we have brightness, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, hue and saturation, color balance, black and white. Let's click on black and white and make some adjustments. And I kind of like that the way it is. Let's just play with some things here. Okay, now I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. All right, this is the great benefit of using adjustment layers. You click on color balance and we can go back and look how our image is being affected black and white by us adjusting the color balance of the image. And that's only available to you in adjustment layers. Now, if I go back and disable this top layer, the black and white layer, you see that the colors are really off, okay? But since we've converted this to a black and white, we're only concerned with how the black and white image looks, and we really don't care how the color image looks. And so you can make your adjustments by sight, or you can use the numerical adjustments here. It's strictly your choice, but I like that right there, and so we're going to just keep that adjustment. Now we can come back later, make adjustments, and if we want to collapse it, then of course we collapse it and move on. So there you have a basic introduction to adjustment layers. In the next movie, we'll take adjustment layers a bit further and show you how to use combinations, how to isolate layers for adjustments, and other more advanced applications of adjustment layers.